welcome back to Wonderland Performing Arts and our Wonder TV channel. I am Miss Emolyn and I teach WonderCrafts, where we really dive into all kinds of elements of design. Today we're going to be focusing on weaving. We're going to ask ourselves, what is it? And we're going to learn how to do the basic weaving structure. You can use a lot of different things to weave. And in the old days, people would use found objects like bark or grasses, and they would make baskets to carry things in. They also made fences that way. Then they started thinking, what else could we make? And a lot of the time they would use yarn and weave these beautiful blankets and curtains and fabric to make clothing. And it was really endless, but also it was a way to survive and to stay warm and to trade and to build things. A lot of our culture and tradition actually has touched base with this process of weaving. It's a really interesting tradition. So today we're going to be weaving paper, and I have two examples. This is an example of just two solid pieces of paper that were cut into strips and woven together. It happens to look like a checkerboard because it's very contrast in color. And we're going to move from there into a more artistic piece, and we're going to choose a solid piece of paper and then also an image that we really like. And we're going to weave the structures. We're going to weave the two pieces of paper together, leaving the main focus on the foreground, and then all the other pieces are going to be woven using the over-under structure. So if you could get a piece of paper that is a solid color, it could be a white piece of paper or construction paper or cardstock. You'll need a pair of scissors, and then you'll need a picture where you really like the image. The picture could come from a magazine, or it could be a family photo off the refrigerator. And we're going to talk about how to weave those two things together to create a really fun and what I think kind of funky piece of art. So here it is again. Other than scissors, you will need some tape and a surface to work on. So I will meet you at the art table to learn our weaving structure. Step one for gathering your supplies is to find an image that you think is really fun and where you can weave it together with something else but show a couple elements of the picture. So I'm going to choose to keep this in the foreground and keep this in the foreground. And I'm going to weave all of the other parts with a piece of paper. Putting your found image next to a piece of paper, you want to ask yourself, what color would look really cool to shine through this picture and make a piece of art? Notice how the colors actually change with the picture, the colors that we're choosing. This is a calm color, and this is a more vibrant, bright color. I think I'm going to go with the purple, a more calm color. This is cardstock. So I'm going to tear this out, and we're going to start by cutting the strips. Look at the photos now of step 1 and 2 and 3 now that you've chosen of your cutting solid each piece of of paper and paper. your picture. Let's ask ourselves, what is weaving? Weaving is the process of interlacing strips of paper, strands of yarn, or even sticks to make new things that are wonderful to look at, touch, wear, and use. Weaving is everywhere, but we see it so often that sometimes we don't even recognize it. Weaving involves a warp and a weft. This could be a confusing concept for people who are just learning, but warp is the direction that our strips will be going up and down, and weft is what we use from left to right. Weft is left to right, and here is a quick diagram to show what I mean. Weft is going left to right, warp is going up and down, and when we interlace them over and under and over and under, we create a more solid structure that can be used to look at, touch, or wear in this case, look at because we're making a piece of visual art. We're going to cut the solid piece of paper from left to right because that is our weft. If you would like to, you can put the ruler down and draw lines all the way across the page because we're going to be looking at this from, we want to create about half-inch wide strips. So using a ruler, if you put it up against the edge of the paper, we're not going to cut it all the way across. We're going to keep half an inch there so that it will stay together. This is going to be like the border that keeps all the strips together. So notice that I'm stopping right on the edge of the page. Also notice that this kind of looks like writing paper. So if all you have right now is notebook paper, you could get one of those pieces of paper out of your notebook and you could cut along the lines of your writing page because they're already there. It is okay if the strips are different widths. This is more narrow and this is a little bit wider. That is okay because this is a piece of art. It'll just make it look that much more organic and unique. Draw the lines down the page. If you don't have a ruler, I find it easier to turn the paper like this and move your pencil over just a little bit and draw all the way down. And if you try to keep your pencil as close to the line, trying to keep it the same way all the way down. Now these lines aren't as straight, but it's okay because my scissors will be guided along the line and I can probably make them more straight. If you feel confident that you don't even need a line, you can simply pick up the piece of paper and begin. So this is without a line. So you can pick up the piece of paper and start cutting your weft strips of paper. This is the left to right strip, or in this case, the more narrow side of the paper, stopping at about half an inch from the edge. I'm guiding the scissors and I'm moving my hand as I go because these are going to start to hang down. Now this one's a little bit wider, but that's okay. Almost easier to keep a straight line with scissors than it is with a pencil. What was the picture that you chose? One other thing about the picture is it is easier to do this art project if there's a main focus of the picture. If you choose, say, a family photo and there are a bunch of people in the picture, it will be hard to get everyone's face in the foreground of the weaving structure. But say it's just one person, like a portrait, one person, and they're sitting outside and so the background is all green, then we can definitely weave that background and we can keep the main focus, which would be the person, and we hold it to the front, and then that's how they become a part of the foreground. So finish cutting and we will then cut this page. So we've cut from left to right the short way, so we need to cut our image long way top to bottom. Okay, so finish cutting your image and we will then learn how to weave them together in an artistic way. So the woven structure is by taking a piece of paper and going over, under, under, over, under, and you repeat that all the way down the line. If you skip it and make a mistake, you would have a bigger piece of red, and then the next row you would probably notice because this would be a bigger piece of green. Using the two contrasting colors should help by reminding yourself to go slow and taking the piece of paper over, then under, then over, then under. With the blue artwork, meaning this one, I chose something with instruments, and I put the instruments in the foreground, and I also put this cushion in the foreground. In the background, what do you notice? Bookcases with games and books in them. So I wove that to show the weaving structure, but I left the main focus to be in the foreground. Make sure you cut your strips of paper one by one and put them down side by side. If you just cut them all, you might forget what order they're supposed to be in, and you might lose your image. Like a puzzle piece, you'd have to piece it back together. Now we're going to move these strips to the side, and one by one we're going to pick up our warp, which is this, going up and down, and we're going to weave it into our weft. The easiest way to keep the warp and weft from moving too much is to use a piece of transparent tape. Picking up one of those pieces of paper, we're going to tape it down so that we won't lose it from the top. And we want this to be on the top, and we can pick it up slightly and put it right under our piece of paper, sliding it to the edge. There we go. Now, it is okay if the lines don't match up. I might actually cut this off because my magazine paper is a little bit shorter than the purple paper. But just to begin, go ahead and tape just the top down. You can fold it over if it's a little bit too high. And then you begin your steps for weaving. Over means you see it on top. Under means you don't see it. Over is the next, and so what would our next strip need to be? Under. So we lift it up and we slide it under, just like that. Good. Over and under. Okay? This is what we're going to do with this strip all the way down. Remember, over is where we see it, under is where we don't. We see purple and then black. And you can say it with me if you want to. Over, under. And over. Okay, did you get your first one down? Taking the next piece of paper, since we see the black, where does it need to go? It needs to go the opposite way. So that would be under. Okay? If you feel like it's moving a lot on you, you can take your piece of tape and just a little piece of tape, and you can tape it down in the back. And in this case, it's going to fold over, but it doesn't matter because it's transparent tape. Under, over, what comes next? Under. So before we pick our image to stay on the foreground, we're just going to be weaving the basic weaving structure, over and then under. And when we get to the picture that we want to show, then we get to break the rules, because we'll be jumping the pattern a little bit in order to get our image to stay in the front. Now this is the top of the chair, okay? So I'm gonna jump 2 and do over, over. I'm going to jump 3 and then complete my weaving pattern with an under, over, and an under. Okay? We're already breaking the rules. How fun is that? And I'm going to tape these down on the bottom just a little to make it just feel a little bit more stable. Okay, so here we have the chair. We're going to start playing around with the image to keep the chair on the foreground, and just like a puzzle, you want to match up the lines so that you can see that they connect in the right place. Over, under, this would be over. So we're going to slide it in the first 2 strips, actually the first 4, like that. Over, under, over, under, over. Slide it as close as you can get it, and then add a little piece of tape. The cool thing about weaving 2 pictures together is that it's up to you to decide what you want to be shown. So if you picked a picture of all kinds of flowers, you could make the flowers pop out everywhere. Okay, count with me, or say it with me. Over, under, over, under, over. So this one's under. And the cool thing is we can count it this way too. Under, over. So this would need to be under. Over, under. Here we have the top of the chair. I think it looks cool to see that. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to go under right here and over right here and lock it down. Okay, nice. Now when I lock it down with a piece of tape, it will not move on me. All lines are meeting up pretty well, and I'm going to tape it down. Now you don't have to put the tape down super hard, because say you want to change something, you can definitely pick it up and change it. Great job. Taking the next one. What does it need to be? Do we need to see the black or the purple? You're right, we need to see the purple. Staying with the basic weaving structure at the top. Come down a few rows and let's lock it down. We're going to do that by matching the lines of the chair. See these lines? Great. And then I'm going to tape it on the top. Just slightly lift, catch the paper, and fold it over with the tape. Okay, so we come to our focus, which is the chair. So I think I'm actually going to weave more until I get to the cushion of the chair. There it is. And I think it would look cool if we go under here, but this is just something that you want to observe and choose for yourself. We're going to go under here and lock it down. So we still have the weaving structure on the border, on the edges, but we are now creating the image. The image is popping out, and that image is the chair. Okay, continue with your weaving by picking up the next strip, asking yourself, does it need to go over or under, by looking from the side, and then begin by taping it. Okay, so I'm going to continue on a couple of strips, and I will pick it up at the end and show you how to secure it all and how to sign it. Now the fun thing about art, but also this project, is that we learn how to do something, but then we also get to break the rules. And sometimes breaking the rules is where the real creativity comes in. So I'm back to the last 3 strips of my image, and I'm almost to the edge of the purple paper. Here we have the structure of weaving, but here I broke the rules by lifting up more than one piece and keeping it in the front. But then I jump back into the weaving structure in the bottom. And I hope that that's what you've been able to create with yours. So, getting to the very end, I want to put this sculpture piece in the foreground, meaning bringing it up to the front. So I'm going to continue with the weaving structure here. Let's turn the camera a little bit, bear with me. And I'm going to go over and then under. And I'm going to lock it down. Here I see the edge of my sculpture. And it actually looks like the sculpture is going to jump off the page. I only have room for one more, but that's okay. We'll leave it to the foreground. Whatever side of the picture we can get. Okay. Now my picture has crept down a little bit, so I actually am going to secure it a little bit below, but that's okay. Keeping this to the front. Then I'm going to go behind right here. So a lot of the time when we're learning a craft, we do want to respect the tradition of how it really goes. But then after we learn that, yippee, we can break rules and try to turn it into something all our own and should be creative. Okay, getting down to the bottom, over, under. I'm going to go back to the weaving structure here. And I'm going to tape it down. Okay, last one. Keeping the sculpture in the front. We will do behind. But then I want to see this picture. So I'm going to say all 4 of these are in front right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to tape it down so that I don't lose my image. Lift and slide the tape into the back. Okay. Oop, I didn't even tape it. Let's try that again. Okay. I want the picture to be on the front. One, two, three, 4, over, and here I'm going to start the weaving structure. Under and over. Now I will tell you, the last one is the hardest to hold, so that's why taping it down on top is really necessary. And if you need a parent to help you do that, I'm sure they would help you. Slide it down, over, under, and over. Whew, did you do it? Okay, what comes next? Yes, let's tape the bottom. All right. Now, if you had a piece of contact paper, which is a big clear piece of paper, it would look really great to put the contact paper all the way down and press down all these images, and it would make it look really secure and together. But if you don't, you can take a piece of tape and go along the edges where the pieces fold up, tape it down like that, and there you have it. So you can see the sculpture, you can see the cool patterns from the piece on the wall, and you can see the chair. Nice. And let's have a look at the other one with the instruments. There it is. And then the last basic weaving structure, just to remind you. Nice job. Okay, so we learned to weave today without a loom, which means we just cut the pieces of paper and we knew that we needed to go over and under and over and under. What goes up and down and up and down? Starts with a W. Warp. W-A-R-P. What goes side to side? Also starts with a W. W-E-F-T. Weft. And we've learned a lot of different materials can create great projects, but they all involve exactly the same two parts, the up and down part, the warp, and then the side to side part, the weft. I hope you've enjoyed today's class. Can't wait to see what you have created, and join me next week with Wonderland Performing Arts WonderCrafts class.